So on my YouTube channel, I focus so much on teaching electric guitar parts. It's always intricate, it's always complicated to a degree, but I've kind of missed something, and I want to thank my student Shannon from Washington. She's an online student of mine. She actually really brought this to my attention, not directly, but it's something we came to through discussion. The overwhelming majority of rockabilly songs use a 1-4-5, okay? I say overwhelming majority, and I really mean that. There's not much variation in that, at least not in my experience. So one thing I feel like would be really worth learning if you're getting into rockabilly, or maybe you have a bit more experience but you haven't thought of it this way, is getting that 1-4-5 structure down in every possible scenario, okay? Because that means if there's an availability in some kind of jam situation for you to play with other people, you've got the ability to follow most songs. Now, furthermore, if I teach you actually how to recognize a 4 and a 5, you can go and jam with people. You may not know all the licks and all the solos, but if you've got that down, you can go play just about any rockabilly song and go have a good time. So we want to facilitate that. I feel like the world is definitely getting a little bit more insular, but if you're scared to get out and have a jam, watch this video and hopefully it really helps out. So the very first thing that I want to explain is what the 1, 4, and 5 is. So I can get into the major scale. I'll give you a really quick rundown. I don't want to get theoretical at all, really, but the 1 is the first degree of a scale, the 4 is the 4th step of a scale, or particularly the major scale, and the 5 is the 5th step of the major scale, okay? So we can lay that out in a straight line, and we know that the major scale, or we would understand that the major scale goes like that. So the 4th one would be E, F sharp, G sharp, A, okay? And the 5th one would be a B, okay? But you don't need to know all that. I'm going to show you something really cool. The root note, E, is there, or wherever we play it from. The 4th degree, okay, is straight across. And that's anywhere we play it, just about. So if I play a G, okay, so we often think about chords when we think of 1-4-5s, and we have to learn those, but if you think about the root notes, you don't even really have to learn them as chord progressions. You'll find them really quickly. So if I play a G chord, and we go, well, what's the 4th chord? Well, don't worry about the whole chord for the moment. Let's look at G. Straight across from here, we've got a C. That's our 4 chord, okay? Up 2 from there is our 5 chord. So any tune, okay, in G, in most of the rockabilly tunes, if we're going to play it in that key, it's going to be the 1, 4, or we could use major chords, sorry, open chords. And we know the C straight across. We're going to go back to the 1, B, and here's D. We can often replace that 5 chord, okay, with a D7. Now you're probably saying, Adrian, you just said here's the 1, here's the 4, and the 5 is 2 up. Yes. But I happen to know that from D, that's given me the note, and I know that the chord's now the 5. But if you want to play it in a really straight structure that makes it easy to remember, you do have to use bar chords, okay? But watch this. Sounds like a country song. Same sort of thing though, okay? So the D, C, the 5 chord is always just 2 frets up. So that's from a root 6 vantage point, or from the 6th string. What if we start a song, for example, that begins in the key of C? Okay. So what happens is, again, here's our root note. Let's forget about the whole chord for a sec. Straight across, okay, we get our 4 chord. Or alternatively, we can get the 4 chord by going back 1 string and back 2. Okay, so here's our 1. So we can get our F chord there. So if we did them as bar chords, C is our 1 chord, F is our 4 chord, C is our 1 chord, and the 5 chord can be found by going straight back a string, okay, from the 5th string to the 6th string. So go from the root note, go straight up, and that's our 5 chord. So remember this, from a root 5, from the 5th string, if we're playing our 1st chord, straight down, okay, is our 4, or straight up is our 5. If our 5 is here, our 4 is going to be 2 back. Our 4 is always 2 frets back from our 5. So that means any key you're playing, if we're in E flat here, here's our 1 chord, here's our 4 chord, okay? Here's our 1 chord, here's our 5 chord. Like I said, if our 5 chord is here, our 4 chord is here. So you can remember this L shape. See this little L shape? They're your 3 chords, okay? If we were in G, like I talked about before, we were doing a song where we might be starting on the 6th string, the L shape will go, here's our 1, here's our 4, here's our 5, back to our 4, here's our 1. So you get this L shape going, and you can kind of play any song. So if someone says, we're going to do a rockabilly song in God forbid, C sharp. Hope not, but anyway. Probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. Well, I know there's our 4 chord. No, I had it coming. I know I can be free. Doesn't matter what key it is. We now go straight across to the 5. That train keeps moving, and that's what tortures me. I did not know my voice could even go that low. Okay, so that's really, really useful. Now, that's going to cover you for anything in a barred position or away from an open position. But if we just knock over a couple of open positions as well and discuss that with a capo, we can get that lovely open sound and feel, or sort of ease, by having those open positions covered. So we'll use this in a second, but let's just come back up here. So the open keys in my mind would be E, A, D, G, and C. Okay, they're going to be the open ones. So if we can go over those really quickly with a capo, we can pretty much play all the different things, all the different blues and 1-4-5s in an open style key. So let's start with E. We already went through that, and we can still see our L shape because we've got 0 straight across is our 4, and then up 2 is our B. Okay, so it's like an L shape. So we can use an E chord, an A chord, and a B7 chord. Okay, so I'll show you, let's start with that one. I'll show you with a capo how we utilize that same L shape in the open way. If I want to play a blues in A, okay, or a rockabilly song in A, I'm going to put the capo on the 5th fret because that note's A, and I'm going to go, that's an A, straight across is our 4, which is a D, and up 2 is our 5 chord, so we can use this dominant 7 chord. We can use that classic bar dominant 7 as well, okay? And then we're back to the E shape. So we've got our E shape, our A shape, and our B7 shape. We don't need to worry about that though. We know the song's in A, we don't want to play bar chords, or we wouldn't have to anyway. Let's do A flat, for example. An E shape will get us an A flat, okay? Because I've got my capo on the A flat, so I'm just ditching that barred part of a bar chord basically and playing an E. And once we've got that established, we've established our key, it's easy because this is our 4 and this is our 5. And we can do that anywhere. This is in G, in an open E style, okay? So our 1, our 4, our 5, our 1. Now what if we want to do the key of A? So we've got our A chord. We can establish that straight across is our 4, and straight back, or straight up, as I mentioned before, is our 5. So anything that I'm doing beginning on the 5th string, if we get our capo, we can move it up. So this would be B flat. Okay, we've come up 1 from A, so we just get to use our same rules. We've got an A chord, it's actually a B flat. Our 4 chord is straight up to a D, back to A, and our 5 chord is this way to an E chord, E type chord, but we're actually doing an F there. So once we've got that capo in place, our 1, 4, and 5 is evident, as long as we know our starting point, okay? And that kind of covers you for almost everything and anything. We could still even look at C. So let's say we start from C in an open style. We've got C here. Okay, we know that we've got the 4 chord back there. So this is our 1, our 5, and our 4, our 5, that L thing. And then our G, then back to F, then back to C, drop my capo. So if we're going to do that with the capo, it's about finding the main note of the song. Let's say it's E in E flat, we can put our third finger on an E flat. Okay, this is a bit challenging, I know, but play around with it. I think you can figure it out. So once we start there, we're in. Okay, as long as we've got that first chord. Our 4 chord now is back here, that L. Okay, the back step there, back to there. And here's the 5 chord. We could use a 7. So the only other one is D. Okay, if we wanted a D idea. So we're in the key of D. We come back, straight back from a D is going to be our 5 chord. Okay, and obviously straight up from D. Okay, upper string is a G. Now we're not playing a chord from there. We're going to take that G and we're going to play a G chord down there. So we can also just learn to remember that in D. Here's our 1 chord. Here's our 4 chord. 1 chord. 5 chord. Do it as a dominant 7 perhaps. So now if we want to move that with the capo, we literally go, okay, the root note was on the 2nd string here. So this is D, D sharp, E. That can be a little tricky to learn, but again, if you muck around, you'll be surprised you can find it. So let's say we're in the key of F, but we want to do it in the D style. I'm going to find the F there. I'm going to put the capo on the 3rd fret, because if we're going to play a D chord, we need that gap of a fret back here for it to make sense. There's our 1 chord. So we know that our 4 chords are G, which in F is a B flat. You don't need to know that. And there's our 5 chord. Let's see if I can do Folsom Prison here. I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling around the bend. I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. And that train keeps rolling on down to San Antonio. And there you go. That is how you can use all those tools to be confident going to any jam, knowing that you can at least follow along with the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. Now, learning to hear those changes will just come with practice and time. But whenever you move to a 4 chord, think about how that sounds and how it makes you feel. If you can nail that down, you'll develop an understanding of when we're changing to a 4 and when we can hear it coming, or what the 5 chord sounds like. Some songs go to the 5 without going to the 4. You know, they go to the 5 first, and that's a whole thing that can mess you around. But guess what? If you hear a chord change and it's not the 4, it's probably the 5. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you really did, you can jump on my Patreon and throw me a couple of dollars a month. I've got tons of transcriptions available. There's a website with courses and all that stuff that you can kind of, build into if you like. But otherwise, just, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and come say hello on the other videos as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.